It's Wednesday, which means it's time for First Look. If you don't know what First Look is, it's basically our unboxing show on the Defiant, where we take a really quick look at something new that's popped out, that looks exciting, that we want to dig into. Don't go into too much depth. And today we're looking at MistX, which is a flash DEX. What on earth does that mean? Well, it's a DEX powered by FlashBots, and it's brought to you by the team behind Alchemist. If you don't know what Alchemist is, well, we actually did give them a mention on our show about smart vaults from last weekend. And there's a lot more going on than smart vaults with Alchemist, but we'll dig into all of that after these messages from our sponsors.
Don't let high gas costs keep you out of Ethereum. A balancer you can trade all you want and get most of the gas costs back in your pocket. In their new BAL for Gas campaign, traders are receiving 6 figures worth of BAL tokens every week, and with version 2, Balancer is becoming the one-stop shop for DeFi liquidity. Balancer version 2 brings stable pools and weighted pools tightly integrated under a single protocol, with flash loans, lending via asset managers, and much, much more. Check it out at balancer.finance. DeFi users, you no longer need to pay expensive and unpredictable interest rates on your ETH loans. Liquidity, a decentralized borrowing protocol, allows you to borrow against your ETH interest-free. Loans are paid out in LUSD, a USD-pegged stablecoin which needs to maintain a minimum collateral ratio as low as 110%. To learn more, head over to liquidity.org/Defiant to get started and get the most out of your borrowing needs today. Now, we all know the feeling of paying high fees and waiting for transactions to confirm when interacting with DeFi. Well, no more. Solana has built a fast, censorship-resistant blockchain where you can build and use crypto apps that scale today. The network supports thousands of transactions per second with fees less than a cent and over 500 validators. To learn more, head over to solana.com/Defiant to get started building and join its rapidly expanding community.
So the origins of Alchemist go back a little way, but effectively they were just a bunch of guys that had a bunch of ideas and decided they wanted to make them happen. And where they started was combining NFTs with LP tokens to create crucibles, and you can mint your own crucible. The whole language around Alchemist is about transmutation, it's about gold, it's about turning base elements into something more special. But fundamentally, a bunch of smart people trying to create some smart things. But what I love about Alchemist is that they very, 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 very clearly up front say, we have no roadmap, that we have no expectations about what we're going to create. We're just experimenting. We're trying stuff out. And in the process of that, they've come up with some really, really interesting products. Now, to this point, there's the Crucible, which is the NFT plus LP position. It's very similar to the hypervisors that we covered over the weekend. There's also MistX, and there's Copper, which is a fair launch mechanism for tokens. Today, we're looking at MistX. And why MistX is interesting is because it's a DEX powered by FlashBots. That's kind of profound, and we'll get into the reasons why. But in their introductory post, I've highlighted a few things here, and it's perfect here. Our ethos is by the people for the people. Our reputation is under promise, over deliver, and our roadmap, well, there isn't one. So they make the products they want to make. They're not beholden to a roadmap that they've set up in advance that may or may not happen. They just go after the products that make the most sense for them. And I think that's healthy. And if they're able to fund themselves to get those products made, more power to them. So what is the deal with MistX? MistX enables end users to send transactions through FlashBot bundles. Now, how this actually works is, normally when you send a transaction on Ethereum or you interact with Uniswap, for instance, that transaction is signed by you. It then goes into a public mempool. That public mempool can be viewed by anyone. In particular, it can be viewed by bots. Now, we covered bots in our FlashBots MEV episode a few weeks back. Definitely check that out for more detail. But if something's in a public pool, it means that anybody can see it, anybody can grab it, particularly if it's a transaction that's prepared to pay a lot to go through. It also means that you can be sandwiched and you can be front run. And as we know, this activity, the chasing after the most valuable transactions, was highly responsible for the surge in gas fees that we saw, a few months back. Now, the work that FlashBots has been doing as an organization to help solve what's called the MEV crisis has done a huge amount of work to lower the overall gas fees that are being paid at the moment. But this is the first time we've ever seen it built into a DEX. So like I said, MistX enables end users to send transactions through flashbots. What else have we see here? There are gasless swaps. Huh? Gasless swaps? What does that mean? Well, we'll get into what exactly that means in a bit, but effectively you don't pay any gas. That doesn't mean you don't pay any fees, because you do, and you have to in order to interact with flashbots, but it works in a different way. And you can also, there's no cost on cancelled transactions, so you can cancel a transaction, you won't be penalized for doing so. And yeah, that's kind of it, basically. So what's happening here is that when you use flashbots, instead of putting a transaction into the public mempool, where it's exposed and at risk of being front run or sandwiched, you bribe miners. Now, the word bribe sounds a bit shady, but basically all you're saying is, instead of, I know that this is a peer-to-peer transaction, I know there's someone out there who's performing a service, and I'm prepared to pay you directly for doing so that you get access directly to my money. You're not fighting with other miners for the right to have that transaction. And so we can just make a deal straight up. And that is exactly how this works. And that basically means that the fees that you pay are the bribe to the miner. If the transaction doesn't go through, you don't have to pay. And that is basically it. It's all very clever. Now, there is a nice kind of introductory Medium post. I will link that below. Oh yeah, well, just one other thing, that a percentage of all miner bribes are reserved for the MistX platform. So like I mentioned before, Alchemist have created a few different products. They have the Crucibles. They also have a staking product here, the Alidel rewards. You can provide liquidity to get LP tokens. So everything's kind of building off each other. And there is a Mist token as well. And some of the profits from some of the bribes that are sent through on MistX, will be reserved for will impact the Mist token directly. So it's all kind of feeding into each other. So I guess if the more people that use this platform, the better it's going to be. So here's what it looks like. And it looks basically like a Uniswap clone. And I know what you're probably thinking here, which is, okay, so here's another DEX. There's not going to be any pairs, and there's not going to be any liquidity. So why would I bother using it? Well, here's the thing. This isn't another DEX. This is a layer sitting on top of a DEX, and the DEX it's sitting on top of is Uniswap. So it's effectively just a layer to filter your actions into Uniswap through that are much more in your favor. So how does it work exactly? Well, it kind of pretty much as you would expect. We've got to connect a MetaMask wallet. I'm going to do basically a pretty simple transaction. So if we look at the pairs that are available, I mean, pretty much everything that you would want is in here. We can click on manage and add the usual lists. So it looks exactly as you would expect. So I'm going to just do a simple, let's just switch some ETH into USDC. I'm just going to like a minimal amount, something tiny. So what it tells me then down here, which you may not have seen before, is the transaction fee, which is $10.49. Now that's not cheap, but that transaction fee is the transaction fee. I won't have to pay gas on top of that. That is the transaction fee. I can click on this icon here, and I can actually move that down so it's a little bit less. If I wanted to be max success, it's going to be $14.90. So that bracket between minimum and maximum is $6. It's not a lot. We've got the usual slippage tolerance here, and we can set the transaction deadline here as well. So if I now go ahead and decide to swap this, do that now, we'll get a little message here. Due to limitation of MetaMask, zero gas transactions must be manually signed. This is not an error. You may have to do this twice. So we are signing a message with zero gas because we're not paying gas to the miners. We're using FlashBots bundles to interact directly with miners and pay them a bribe. I understand this. So I'm now going to confirm the swap. And once again, we get this signing message. There is a little thing here you can click on learn more, which will teach you a little bit more about what's going on here when you sign these type of requests. I'm going to do that now. Let's just sign that message. Yep, because I'm happy for it to go through. Do I need to add USDC? Yes, I probably do. So now, hopefully, when we go and look at the Etherscan record of this transaction, we should see some interesting things there. Hopefully. Let's see where we're at. I'm not going to speed this up. So we'll just jump straight ahead to when this is being processed. Okay, so that has been successfully put through, and it tells me I can view the transaction on Etherscan. I already did that. And here it is. So this is pretty interesting. I was expecting to be interacting with Uniswap, but it tells me that I wasn't. I was interacting with SushiSwap. So I'm curious what's going on there. I might need to do a little bit more digging. But the main thing here is the gas price, 0. We didn't pay any gas. Now, what I could have done is I could have canceled that transaction and I wouldn't have had to pay anything for it. But yeah, effectively, this is a smart way of interacting with AMMs, where what you see is what you get. WYSIWYG. And to be honest with you, I think I will probably end up using this over Uniswap most of the time now because the user experience is great, the liquidity is there. Why wouldn't I use this? The transparency over the fees and the ability to cancel something if I need to without having to pay for it. I think that is a good product. So I will definitely keep using this and see whether it's... No, I mean, I've got no reason not to use it, if I'm being perfectly honest. I think this is a great addition to the AMM roster. And I think what I love about the Alchemist team is I just love the fact they have no roadmap. They just build the products they want to build because they want to build them. And that is definitely to be commended. So that's it for this week's first look. I highly recommend taking a look into Alchemist and all the different products they are building. It seems like a really cool community. MistX just works, and fundamentally using flashbots to power transactions, that's a good thing. I'll see you on the next one. Bye.